I'd like to call to order the continuation of our April Planning Board meeting. Tonight, the purpose of the meeting is to review and make a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen on all of the public sessions we had on Monday night. And there will be no more discussion from the public. We've had an opportunity to, if you submitted them, to review those comments. And so tonight, the board will deliberate and make a vote on the cases. Let's start out. We'll do a roll call. Margaret Birch.
Here.
Diane Byers.
Here.
Tom McDaniel.
Here.
Jim Frattenberg. Joe Ornstein.
Here.
Steve Hutchins.
Here.
Nathan Meyer.
Here.
Luann Davis.
Here.
Chris Oakman.
Here.
Jim Waddell is here also. Thank you. So our first case for tonight to review is the Kernersville Development Plan. Curtis Swisher, agent for the town of Kernersville, for consideration of an amendment to the Kernersville Development Plan to amend the land use plan from office and high-density residential to mixed use for properties located at the southern terminus of Salisbury Street at Salem Parkway, being all of the PIN numbers listed in the staff report. This is zoning docket case KDP 55. Okay.
Thank you.
The action required tonight is a land use plan amendment recommendation. Any discussion from the board?
I move for the approval.
We have a motion for approval as presented,
I'll second it.
and we have a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll go on a roll call. Margaret Burks.
Yes.
Diane Byers.
Approve.
Tom McDaniel.
Approve.
Joe Ornstein.
Approve.
Steve Hutchins.
Approve.
Nathan Meyer.
Approve.
Luann Davis.
And we're clear on this. This is KDP 55, the one on Salisbury Street.
Yes. Yes.
And so there was no recommendation for a turn lane on this project. Is that correct?
We haven't gotten to the project yet.
No.
What?
We have not gotten to the project yet. This is just the.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Approve.
Chris Oakman
Approve.
and Jim Waddell approves, so the motion is carried. Thank you. Next case is a rezoning. Steve Saranka, agent for owners. Petitioner requests a single-phase conditional use rezoning from PB-S to RMU-C, residential multifamily unrestricted conditional use for property located at 904 Salisbury Street, containing a total of 3.19 plus or minus acres, and being all of PIN number 6885-19-3936. Uses requested: residential building, multifamily, elderly housing. It's a zoning docket K518.A1, and the action required is the rezoning recommendation and the site plan recommendation. Any discussion from the board?
I move for the rezoning recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of the rezoning as presented by staff.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I think there was, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Who seconded it?
Oh, Tom McDaniel.
Okay, Tom has a second. Any further discussion of the board? Okay, Margaret Burks.
This is Luann. I'm in favor of recommending a turn lane for this project. I've delivered Meals on Wheels for several years, and you cannot turn left out of headed towards Ivy Redmond Park.
And that would be done in the next motion under the site.
Now, this is just a rezoning vote now, Luann, and then we'll have a discussion on the site plan.
Okay.
Diane Byers, does
Approved.
everybody understand what you're voting on? You're voting only on the rezoning recommendation at this point. Diane Byers,
Approved.
Tom McDaniel,
Approved.
Joe Ornstein,
Approved.
Steve Hutchins,
Approved.
Nathan Meyer,
Approved.
Luann Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approved.
and Jim Waddell is also approval, so the recommendation for rezoning is approved. Is there a motion about the site plan recommendations?
I so move.
And we have a
As
motion
presented.
for the site plan recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Nathan second. Now we have it on the board. Is there any discussion from the board? Luann, this is where if you got a discussion is where you bring it up.
Is this where I can discuss a turn lane?
Yes, this is where it is, yeah.
Okay, thanks. My recommendation or observation would be that this project needs a turn lane.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board about the turn lane?
I would like to agree with Luann. I think.
Well, this is Salisbury Street, and I feel like that the highway department controls that even more than Kernersville does. So the recommendation would have to go to the state highway department also.
For the record, I would agree with Luann and Chris.
You agree with Diane? Is that what you?
With Luann and Chris, I would agree with them on the turn lane.
Any other
So Jeff,
discussion?
I guess the question is, can we make that recommendation, or is what Margaret is saying that it has to go before NCDOT?
Well, they would probably have to approve it, but yeah, we can make a recommendation.
Yeah, you could make the recommendation that the planning board recommends turn lanes based upon NCDOT review and approval. So that would cover both Margaret's concern and your concern, Luann.
Okay, I'm good with that.
I'll go on the record too and say I agree with Luann. You need a turn lane on that road.
Okay. Margaret, do you agree to change your motion?
I didn't really make a motion, except for the approval of it.
Yeah, but now what we're saying is, would you change your motion to include
Yes.
recommending a turn lane as approved by the North Carolina Department of Transportation?
Yes.
Okay. And Nathan, you seconded. You agree?
Yes, I
Okay.
agree. I'll follow that idea.
Okay. So does everybody understand the motion now? It's approval of the site plan recommendations, including the recommendation of a turn lane upon approval by the North Carolina Department of Transportation.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Margaret Burks,
I approve. Yes.
okay, Diane Byers,
Approved.
Tom McDaniel,
Approved.
Joe Ornstein,
Approved.
Steve Hutchins,
Approved.
Nathan Meyer,
Approved.
Luann Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approve.
and Jim Waddell approves also. Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Kernersville Development Plan. Curtis Swisher, agent for the town of Kernersville, for consideration of an amendment to the Kernersville Development Plan to amend the land use plan for properties located at 1020 North Main Street, being all of the PIN numbers listed in the staff report regarding the maximum size of retail space and PIN number 6886-99-4736, changing the land use designation from low density residential to commercial neighborhood in conjunction with the case of K-784. This is zoning docket KDP 56. Action required tonight is a land use plan amendment recommendations. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the land use plan adjustment.
I second it.
Margaret, second. Any discussion by the board? I'm sorry? Anybody have any discussion?
Which docket was that, Jim?
Which one is it?
Yes.
KDP 56.
Okay. That's the one we voted on the other month.
Well,
That we did
784 is the one we voted on the other day, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the one for the grocery store up at that area.
Or the whole shopping center type concept, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, Margaret Burks,
Yes, I approve.
Diane Byers,
Approve.
Tom McDaniel,
Approve.
Joe Ornstein,
Approve.
Steve Hutchins,
Approve.
Nathan Meyer,
Approve.
Luann Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approve.
and Jim Waddell approve also. Next item on the agenda is a rezoning. William F. Greco Jr., agent for owners. Petitioner requests a single-phase conditional use rezoning from RS20 to RS12C PRD, residential single-family conditional use for property located at 9431 County Line Road, containing a total of 36.13 plus or minus acres, and being all of PIN numbers 6897-10-1878. Use requested, residential building, single family, and planned residential development. This is zoning docket K-786. The actions required tonight is a rezoning recommendation and a site plan recommendation. Any discussion by the board? Let's take the rezoning first.
I move for the approval of the rezoning as recommended by the staff.
Okay. We have a motion for approval of the rezoning as presented by staff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nathan Myers. Any further discussion on the rezoning from the board? Okay, Margaret Burks,
Yes,
Diane Byers,
Against.
Joe Ornstein,
Against.
against, okay. Diane, was yours for or against?
Against. No.
Against,
Yes, it's a no.
Steve Hutchins,
I'm gonna vote against.
I'm sorry?
I'm gonna vote against.
Against, okay. Nathan Meyer,
Or.
Luann Davis,
My vote is for against.
Chris Oatman,
And vote against.
Jim Whitell votes in favor. So it looks like the motion failed.
Well, you missed me, Jim. I'm voting for it.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So 1, 2,
Jim, what did you say you were voting for? Was he voting for it or against it?
I'm sorry?
Were you voting for it or against it, Jim?
Who?
You.
Oh,
I
I was
didn't hear
making
you. You're
Maybe.
voting for it?
a 5-4 against what my tally says. Does that meet yours, Beth?
And Beth, what do you have?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses and 1, 2, 3, 5 noes.
Yeah. Okay. So the motion fails.
That recommendation then will go to the Board of Aldermen. And so
Okay. Okay, site, now let's deal with the site plan recommendation. Any discussion from the board?
yes, to the planning board, you want to make a recommendation, a site plan. Just if the Board of Aldermen do pass the case, they would want your recommendation on the site plan. So if you have any changes beyond what the staff's recommending, now would be the time making recommendations on the site plan and conditions.
Jeff, do you know if there's another location on that property for the sewer treatment pump?
That location is located at the bottom of the drainage. That's pretty much the only location. You might be able to switch it to the other side of the creek, but pretty much at the terminus of Deborah Lane is probably the only place you can place that pump.
Okay, I would be more in favor, not saying I'm for it, but I would be more in favor if that sewage treatment or the sewage pump was moved to maybe the other side of the creek, further away from the existing homeowners. And it's, the lady that lives there would be looking out her front door at a sewage pump.
I mean, you can certainly make that recommendation as an additional condition.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yes, the other night, there were several homeowners there that were very concerned about the way the water ran off the property. And there was something about a 6-inch culvert is used right now. But I thought during the presentation we had the other night that they were talking about going to a larger one.
Mhm.
I'm not finding that in my paperwork. So can you tell me any more about that, Jeff?
Staff followed up with that, and the developer informed me that currently there's a culvert on this development property and the adjacent property. The adjacent property stated in a public comment that they do not want any changes to the culvert, and so the developer is fine with not making any changes to the culvert.
But didn't they say that their property floods on occasion?
Then there's further downstream I think it was Eden Bridge or Eden Terrace, where there were 2 accessory buildings that have experienced high water.
Okay.
But there were two different stormwater topics.
All right, thank you.
Jim, this is Lou Ann. My recommendation or discussion point would be the width of the streets. It appears that on this map they are 28 feet, but it says in the staff report that the developer could be pursuing a request to the town of Kernersville for the reduction of the size of the private streets and sidewalks. So if he reduces the size of the streets and the sidewalks, in theory, he can put more homes in this development. So my recommendation would be that for this particular project, that there is no change in the street width or the sidewalk width as presented in this
Luann,
map.
you haven't
site
made
plan.
that request yet, so we deal with the plan as it is. And plus, he can't just add number of houses, can he, Jeff?
No, he would have to request a text amendment that would have to come through the planning board, Board of Aldermen. And if the roads were lessened in width, he would not get additional lots. He could maybe get additional footprint on his lot or a larger driveway, but by lowering the width of the street would not qualify him to get additional lots.
So there's no way, in other words, that he could gain more land to have build more houses on, not without coming back.
Right.
Well,
And
approved.
either, but it would have to come back through the staff, planning board, Board of Aldermen. Like I said, if he reduced the lot width, he would still have to keep the whole project under 24%. But like I said, that'll be taken care of by a separate request that will come through this board.
And I really think that we need to vote on the facts that we have at hand and not speculation that the developer may do something in the future.
Jim, I would make a recommendation too that you remove that gate. I don't like gates and I don't like stub roads.
So you're gonna remove the emergency gate? Okay.
Me personally, I would like to see the gate remain because that way Deborah Lane does not become a thoroughfare.
How the rest of the board feel about the gate?
Leave the gate.
Which way did you mean, Tom, about removing the gate? Are you talking about removing that portion of the road, removing the gate, and having the road continue into the other road?
Yeah, they've got a gate. Basically, it's kind of like a stub road, so they're basically keeping traffic from going down that road. I don't like stub roads. I've never liked them. I think you need to let traffic just flow. I mean, there's only one entrance. That gives you another entrance.
Put it on. Thank you.
One thing we have to do as far as the planning board is concerned is we need to stop having larger developments where we have one way in and one way out. It not only limits this property development here, but it also limits property development around it. A few weeks ago, I went to the southeast side of Winston-Salem, and there was development after development after development, and they all interconnected with each other. And it was wonderful because they did. You didn't have to go out to a main road to get over to the next neighborhood. You just stayed on the road that you're on. And we really need to start working on that here in Kernersville, because when we have a road get blocked, it causes havoc. I mean, right now, you had work done on South Main Street. What happened? Traffic backed up pretty good both ways because we did not have alternative routes nearby. We got to get past this stuff about there's never been this way before, and we need to up our level of thinking about how to develop Kernersville into a good city, a good town, so that people do enjoy it here. I mean, when you get traffic backed up, like it still continues on South Main Street during rush hour or in downtown during rush hour, it's not good.
Yeah.
We do need other roads in town to act as cut-throughs.
Who is that talking?
Nathan,
That's me, Martha. This is Nathan.
Well, before we had any planning at all, everything was a stop street. We had no connection at all. So at least give us credit that we have have improved from long ago. You don't know
I'm
what
not-
you're talking about because you weren't here.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Margaret, that things haven't improved, but times are changing and we still need to go with another round of improvements.
Carry on.
Thank you.
I'll add my 2 cents. I agree with Tom. We do these stub roads for future development and then we block them off. I mean, you have that's a lot of people coming out of one entrance. I mean, I agree. I don't like the stub roads either. Either don't do them for futures or continue to do them, but we do them as a plan for the future. And then we end up chaining them off or blocking them off or not using them. And the connectivity is helpful. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to add to that, the stub road at the north, I mean, that one's never going to go anywhere on this map because it dead ends into basically into, if I'm looking on Google Maps, there's a great big house there with a pool. I mean, all of that land would have to sell for another development for that to connect to, and I doubt that would ever happen. So I'm not quite sure. I know why it's there. It's so that they can get 2 more houses on this plan, instead of just turning the corner where they could get, they would have to only have 1 house in that corner. But so I understand why it's there, but it's never going to connect anywhere. So there's no point for me, anyways, on the plan to have a stub road there.
And I'll add to that. I'm talking about like really as overall looking at the whole picture of stub roads, not necessarily this one, but like Nathan said, these large developments with 1 entrance, it seems a little much for me, but not specifically this one. I'll make that correction.
Okay.
Can I ask Jeff a question, please?
Oh, go
This is
ahead.
Diane. Jeff, I know we discussed talking about traffic with the other plan that we were talking about and approving. There's a lot of residents that have a lot of concern about the traffic on that road already. And then with this plan also, is there any suggestions we can make concerning that?
I think for the road improvements, I think one of the neighbors pointed out is, basically the traffic count from this project, and if the residents are correct and traffic is increasing, the new traffic counts that from NCDOT that will come out will kick in turn lanes. So I think even one of the adjacent property owners was comfortable that NCDOT in future driveway permits, because the condition reads that this project is shown to be done in phases, 2 phases. And when they go to the 2nd phase, they have to go back to NCDOT to revise their driveway permit. And at that time, the traffic counts will be considered again. Because you remember, NCDOT has to follow, has to be consistent, has to have consistency. And one of the words they use is a turn lane warranted, and their warrants are based upon traffic counts and also safety. And at this time, NCDOT has no justification. But like I said, one resident, I think, felt comfortable by the 2nd phase. You'll probably see turn lanes being required on Macy Grove. And also, people talked about site distance. When they apply for the driveway permit, they'll have to meet all NCDOT site distances and so forth. So the site distance and potentially the turn lanes may be addressed, in the 2nd phase.
So there's nothing that we can add to our comments on the approval with this site plan.
I mean, you could add the same recommendation Luann made, that turn lanes be considered by NCDOT.
Okay.
But like I said, NCDOT will look at it and they'll follow what's warranted or not. But it can certainly be a condition. But currently, I do not believe NCDOT has the ability to be fair to all people But like I said, it certainly could be a recommendation because you're not requiring it. You're just recommending that you're recommending turn lanes if NCDOT approves.
Jeff, I have one more question. So there has not been a traffic study done since Macy Grove extension was put in. Is that correct?
The next traffic counts, well, the traffic has actually, the next traffic counts will be coming out will cover the new traffic patterns.
You know, the reason I ask is we've got some new neighborhoods going in out there, right? We've got and these might be in Guilford County and not Forsyth and outside of Kernersville limits, but there's one on Phillips Farm Road. It looks like they're extending that neighborhood according to Google Maps. There's a few more out there that these people, if they work in Greensboro, probably used to go Cross Creek or Beeson Road to get to work, and then got on at Sandy Ridge, business 40 at Sandy Ridge Road, or 40 at Sandy Ridge, that are now coming out county line, making the left, and then making the left on Macy Grove to quickly get on the interstate. So my guess is the residents over there are correct, and the traffic counts are way up from the last counts, which in that case would require some turn lanes, which would help out the folks in Chelsea Place as well, with turn lanes, because obviously it'd have to be done on both sides of the road. But I would think that would have to be a NCDOT thing.
And like I said, certainly you can make the motion based upon NCDOT review and approval. And traffic patterns, typically they traffic engineer once told me that typically it takes over 6 months before new traffic patterns take place after as new road is built. And so at Macy Grove Road, after 6 months, we may see a new traffic pattern. But at the same time, anybody coming from the north, down North Main Street, heading to Greensboro would have taken County Line Road, and now they'll be taking Macy Grove. And so there's a lot of additions and subtractions. So it's very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see at the end of the day what will be the traffic pattern.
Okay.
That whole area is poised for growth with Macy Grove. I mean, we have a supermarket coming in. There's some massive empty land across, farmland across the street from Macy Grove and behind the grocery store and that kind of stuff there. So there's a lot of, they're poised for growth over there. So I just want to make sure we're making the right decision.
Further discussion on the board?
Tim, I guess my last comment would be the builder or developer, I'll call it the developer, stated to us Monday night that he had held a meeting. But I did confirm with one of the homeowners that there was a meeting, but he went to it and there was no one there. I wish the developer would reach out a little bit more to the neighbors and the community around him to just discuss this plan with them a little bit more, because we overwhelmingly heard none of them are for it. But I think maybe a little more communication might be a little more helpful.
Okay. Further discussion on the board?
Well, when you are having property for sale, you put a for sale sign out in front of it. So this property has already been sold. One of the things that's missing is this developer, like Lou Ann's talking about, somehow did not communicate well with the people that live right beside the property that he has. Maybe he should be putting at least like a sign about the size of a for sale sign with date and time for people to come to meet him. Because not everybody is constantly reading their emails, nor do they always read their text. But when they see a sign alongside the road like that, it does catch their attention.
And the developer, regarding the public participation, the developer will have the opportunity to further explain and provide the Board of Aldermen understanding of the approach they took. So I'm sure that will be something the developer will want to clarify when he gets in front of the Board of Aldermen.
Jeff, I agree, but he was very clear with us that he held a meeting. But I can't find anyone over there that actually was able to attend the meeting. The one guy I spoke to actually went, and there was no meeting. The doors were locked, and there was no meeting. So I just think he needs to maybe reach out a little bit more to his neighbors.
All right. Any other discussion of the board? So what's the pleasure of the board?
There were, just to clarify for staff, there was 3 recommendations. Move the pump station to the north of the stream, remove the gate at Deborah Lane, and recommend turn lanes to NCDOT for review.
Right. Unless we put something in there about communicating with adjacent landowners or encouraging. Should we do that, Jeff? Should we just say we would encourage a developer to meet with adjacent owners?
I mean, I'm sure the developer is currently participating in this meeting by listening, and staff will also convey to him that he'll need to look at what he did for public participation and determine if things went wrong and so forth. But I believe, but staff will follow up on that. But I think as part of it, the condition of the rezoning, it would not be appropriate.
Okay.
Staff will follow up on that.
Jeff, my recommendation was to leave a lock the gate, not to remove it. And Tom said remove the gate.
Yeah,
So somebody will need to
the majority of the board members agreed that it should be left alone. If I'm not mistaken.
So
wrong.
Luann or Tom will have to make the motion first then.
I'll make a motion that we approve it as submitted by the board or by the staff with the 3 conditions that we've added.
Okay. Is there a second?
What are those 3 conditions one more time?
Move the sewer to the other side of the creek. Remove the emergency gate. Well, we decided we're going. Yeah, I think we did remove it. And then turn lanes based upon the approval of the DOT.
I thought the motion was to leave the gate.
What's the feeling of the rest of the board?
I'll make a comment based on Chris and the actuality of that. I don't have a problem with the gate on this particular plan. My comment was in reference to future and stub roads in general.
Okay. So does anybody strongly resist us putting removal of the emergency gate into the motion?
Repeat that one more time, Jim.
I'm sorry, let me say it again.
What did you say?
I said, does anybody have a strong nature of putting in removal or keeping the gate? Which way are you leaning?
I don't know why, but I can't hear you good.
Do you want to keep the gate or do you want to do away with the gate?
Oh, keep the gate.
Nathan?
I can go either way. Personally, I prefer that the gate not be there, but if the rest of the board feels we need the gate, then I'm not upset.
So at this point, though, what is your feeling? That's what we're trying to get to, what the board wants to do.
Okay, I'll go yes.
Okay, keep the gate.
Yes.
Okay. Diane?
I don't care either way.
Okay. Luann?
I am for keeping the gate.
So, all right. Steve?
I'm fine with keeping the gate.
Joe?
Let's keep the gate.
Chris?
You keep the gate.
Okay, I think we'll keep the gate. So we'll take that motion out. So now there's only two. We're gonna recommend move the sewer to the other side of the creek and turn lanes based upon the approval of the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And Tom, is that your motion now?
Well, I want to keep the gate because I don't like stub roads and I don't like gates, period. But I'll go along with the rest of the group if that's what you want, but I think it's a mistake. We're setting a precedent for the future. I mean, I don't like stub roads and I don't like gates. To me, there's really no need for it.
But you're okay with the motion?
I'll go along. I'll go along. If that's what the rest of the board wants, I'll go along with it.
Okay, so we're gonna recommend moving the sewer and turn lanes. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Steve.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for approval of the site plan with the conditions of moving the sewer to the other side of the creek and the turn lanes based upon the approval of the Department of Transportation. Margaret Burks?
I don't like any of it. I'm just not voting either way.
I need
Can I
one
do
more
that?
vote.
Can I do that?
What?
Just not vote.
No.
Well, I don't like the plan, but I don't know that anybody can come up with one better.
So which one do you want to go with?
No.
No. Diane Byers?
Approve as recommended.
Tom McDaniel?
Approve.
Joe Ornstein?
Approve.
Steve Hutchins?
Approve.
Nathan Meyer?
Approve.
Luann Davis?
Approve.
Chris Oakman?
Approve.
And Jim Waddell's approval also. So we have 8 approval and 1 no vote, so the motion carries. Thank you very much. I just want to make one comment, and it's not about this property or this vote, but all I'm saying is with all the land up north, with the road coming in that makes easy access to 40 going either way, we're going to have a lot more cases like this come through because that's where the development is. So, but I think the discussion tonight was very valuable and puts the word about how the planning board feels and what they're looking for when we do have a case. So, next case, a rezoning, Chris Parr, agent for others. Petitioner requests a single phase conditional use rezoning from MUS to MUC, mixed use conditional use for property located at 1188 Solomon Drive, containing a total of 17.49 plus or minus acres and being all of PIN number 6874-38-5603 and 6874-39-7030. Uses requested is residential building, multifamily. This is zoning docket case 719.A3. Tonight we need action required on the rezoning recommendation and a site plan recommendation. So we'll take the rezoning first. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay. We have a motion for approval of the rezoning recommendation.
Yeah, and just a clarification on that. So the staff had recommended the use change from residential building multifamily to residential urban. So I just want to clarify if the planning board is recommending approval as presented by staff.
Was a motion for approval as presented by staff?
I second it. I second it.
All right, Margaret seconded.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Margaret Burks,
Yes.
Diane Byers,
Approve.
Tom McDaniel,
Approved.
Joe Ornstein,
Approve.
Steve Hutchins,
Approve.
Nathan Meyer,
Approve.
Leanne Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approved.
and Jim Wells approved. So that's the site plan recommendation is next on the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve as presented.
Okay.
I second it.
A motion for approval is presented by staff, a second by Margaret. Any further discussion on the board? Okay, Margaret Burks,
Approve.
Diane Byers,
Approve.
Tom McDaniel,
Approved.
Joe Ornstein,
Approve.
Steve Hutchins,
Approve.
Nathan Meyer,
Approve.
Luann Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approved.
and Jim Monell's also approval. Thank you. Okay, our last case tonight is a rezoning. Joel Hagee, agent for owners. Petitioner has requested general use district rezoning from RS7 to PB pedestrian business for property located at 325 East Bodenhammer Street, containing a total of 0.18 plus or minus acres and being all up in number 6886-43-6988. The uses requested are all the PB uses apply. This is zoning docket case 787, and the action required tonight is a rezoning recommendation.
Jim, this is Luann. I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, as presented by staff.
As presented by staff, yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Chris Oakman.
Any further discussion? Okay, Margaret Burks,
I approve.
Diane Byers,
Approve.
Tom McDaniel,
Approved.
Joe Ornstein,
Approve.
Steve Hutchins,
Approve.
Nathan Meyer,
Approve.
Luann Davis,
Approve.
Chris Oakman,
Approved.
and Jim Waddell's approval also. Okay, I'd like to ask the board again, we're considering going back to open meetings, following the guidelines of CDC and social distancing and masks and everything. So if you have any comments about that, the original thought was to go back in May. We've had one comment about maybe we should wait till June. So more people have an opportunity to have the vaccines. If you have a comment or would like to say anything about it, just shoot me an email so we can put that together so we can get with staff and we can determine when's the best time maybe to bring us back together again. Any further discussion of the board? Okay, if not, I'll declare it adjourned. Thank you very much.